Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I'm Scott, your host, and a man who just can't believe that it's only going to be 30 weeks until the next football season starts. We only have to get through 30 short, very short weeks before we can see professional football again. It's very sad, actually. And with me in the studio down in Entertalk Central in San Diego, California, is Paul B. Paul, did you watch the big game on Sunday?
I just saw the highlight reel afterwards. I wasn't that into it.
You weren't at like a Super Bowl party?
No.
Day drinking? I
got no life. I was working on Super Bowl Sunday.
Working on Super Bowl Sunday. No day drinking for you.
I didn't say it wasn't day drinking.
Oh, there you go.
Let's not get crazy now.
Now you know. Now you know. Very good. Well, good. Well, it's the Super Bowl was really cool. So I wanted to do a whole show, around the Super Bowl. But first of all, before we get into that, who am I? What do I do? How do you reach me? That kind of thing. I run a PR and marketing firm called Robertson Communications in Orange County. I help all kinds of clients figure out their story, get, build trust and, have great marketing results and, succeed in marketing, become winners at marketing. That's what I help people do. How do you reach me? You send an email to scott@robertsoncom2ms.com. You can find me on Twitter @robertsoncom2ms and then also on facebook.com/robertsoncom, no surprise, 2Ms there too. And also, as of this year, I'm a certified story brand guide, so I can use that sort of superpower to create even better brand stories, website wireframes, any kind of sales copy, PR stuff for my clients. So anyway, reach out to me if you're having marketing challenges. If it's not working for you, I am here for you. Reach out to me. Easy to find. So you guys are smart because you have tuned into episode 146 of the program, which is called Super Bowl Ad Stories. And did you know that more than 80 entities, fought for your attention, clamored for your attention on Super Bowl Sunday, and each one of them paid $5 million every 30 seconds to do it? That is the Super Bowl. And to many people, the ads are more of a feature than even the game itself. And although it was fun seeing my kind of hometown, home state, KC, Missouri Chiefs win the big game in spectacular comeback fashion, it was a pretty good game. It was even more cool to see, all the awesome marketing that was on display as well. So we're going to dive in. We're going to tell you who won, who lost, and according to basically my opinion and kind of what I thought. You may have a different opinion. That's why you can reach out and email me and let me know. And of course, we're going to have a fresh batch of winning and losing outside the realm of football and Super Bowl and all that fun stuff as well. So this is going to be a Lombardi Trophy hoisting version of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk. So let's dig right into it. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. The best ads and the worst ads, and kind of most importantly, why. Pretty much unanimously, the best commercial of the Super Bowl seems to go to Jeep and bringing in Bill Murray and doing an ad around Groundhog Day for a couple of important reasons, right? First of all, Groundhog Day, fantastic movie. Bill Murray did such an amazing job, and it continues to be. It's a 1993 comedy classic. But Jeep did a few really interesting things with this ad that I want to talk about. First of all, it was Groundhog Day, and I think it's important to kind of know that, right? You're in the on the calendar. You're actually in the realm of Groundhog Day, so it's really appropriate, to have an ad about that. it's basically a hilarious adventure with the groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil. And it basically, Bill Murray's trapped in a time loop. He's forced to live Groundhog Day, but instead of loathing the day, he's really enjoying it thanks to the presence of this really cool Jeep and his little groundhog pal. It was really, really funny. Really, really well done. Bill Murray is a really big star. To have on an ad, he doesn't do a lot of commercials. There's a whole story. There's a whole story on CNBC, I think it was, about how Jeep was able to land Bill Murray, and I thought that story is pretty fascinating too. Don't have time to dig into all that, but it's out there for your reading pleasure. So definitely winning was the Jeep ad. I mean, like I said, fantastic job with the timing, fantastic job with the production. Fantastic job, bringing in Bill Murray and a lot of the stars of the movie. Just a really well executed thing for Jeep. And the fact that, this horrible situation, that he's reliving the same day over and over again, is made much better by the presence of the product. So the product is really tied in there in a really kind of powerful way. So, yeah. Kudos to them for doing that. Next, let's talk about Planters. Planters basically killed off Mr. Peanut that we talked about in the days leading up to the Super Bowl. And then, they said they were going to show the funeral, which they did, and the ad featured, the Kool-Aid Man and Mr. Clean and a bunch of other mascots, sort of mourning Mr. Peanut. And then the Kool-Aid Man's tears actually reincarnated Mr. Peanut into a cute little version of the nut that they call Baby Nut. So, good commercial, good way to resolve, that situation during the middle of this campaign. They had to deal with, Kobe Bryant's untimely death, and the fact that there is, and the fact that that's a hard event to deal with when you're trying to kill off a fictional character, and then somebody who is very beloved also passes away in that window. So I think it's focusing on sort of the reincarnation of him and bringing back the baby nut, that's kind of like Baby Groot or Baby Yoda and that kind of thing. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. And I thought it was a pretty funny and a good commercial. And apparently, as I read in a story today, the merchandise for the Baby Nut is going off the hook, right? So people want plush things like that. They want all those things. So anyway, I think we got to give the big kudos to Planters and the Baby Nut. My next pick is Mountain Dew Zero Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. And you're expecting, you're like, yeah, you're going to see, you're absolutely going to see soft drink commercials, during the Super Bowl, just like you're going to see beer commercials. But they did a very good job with that. Basically, they recreated the act scene from the 1980 horror film The Shining, using Bryan Cranston, who did a really good job with that, I thought. And then he also played the creepy twins, which was odd, but hey, it gets attention. What can you do? Interesting way to introduce Mountain Dew Zero Sugar, and I thought that one critique that I have, they say, hey, it's as good as the original, and they basically showed a kind of a parody of the original. It was hard for me to understand, what the connection between The Shining was and Zero Sugar until I kind of read that it's about, as good as the original kind of thing. But then I don't know, was it as good as the original and that kind of thing? I thought it was a good ad. I thought that it got attention and those kind of things and a good way to introduce the soft drink, but it didn't win huge points for me from the fact that it didn't really tie into the Mountain Dew brand in a very good way. So I don't know, kind of a little bit winning and a little bit losing on that one. You know what? Let's talk about Google for a second. So Google had an ad that they call Loretta, and it was very, it's designed to create an emotional reaction in you, right? And it did that, and it certainly did that. Basically, it's pretty powerful. It basically, as an elderly gentleman that's asking his Google Assistant to display stored memories of his late wife, Loretta, so he won't forget her. So it's got a little bit of an up, kind of feel to it, and kind of showing you the things that Google can do. I couldn't help but feeling, and it is emotional and it is powerful, and you get, what you're looking at and that kind of thing. Knowing what we know about Google and how they look at personal data and how many times they get sued about that, and how many fines they've paid, and how $5 billion for violating GDPR standards. They're about to get their butts sued off for the California Consumer Privacy Act. That's coming in less than a month. A big lawsuit against them for violating the California Consumer Privacy Act. They're not known for being a very tidy company when it comes to your data. So I couldn't help but thinking, when I'm watching the whole thing, I'm like, I would not let Google have all of my memories and things, because God knows who they're going to sell them to. God knows who is on, who's going to receive them, and is this stuff really private? When Google says over and over again that, like, anything that you post, to YouTube and those kind of things, it sort of belongs to them. And so, I don't know. That was just maybe my feelings on it. Was I thought that powerful ad. I get what they were trying to say. I get, they were really going for the emotional button. They successfully did that. I do not think that. I think because of their reputation for sort of being really bad at privacy, I think that probably weakens the ad, because every single person watching the ad was probably thinking, "Yikes! I don't trust those. I don't trust those people to be able to have memories of of my late wife. So I won't forget it." It's like, no, because like I said, God knows who would see them next. Let's talk about. Cheetos did a good job. They had a pretty funny ad with "You Can't Touch This." They had a Hammer Time ad about the fact that it really it features MC Hammer in kind of a fun way, and the "You Can't Touch This" song, but it really helps. So Cheetos really helps a man avoid a lot of things he doesn't want to do, because he has the orange Cheeto dust on his hands. And I thought that was pretty hysterical, because we've all sort of experienced that, and basically the way they incorporated MC Hammer into it it was really, really funny. It was really, really well done. And it kind of reminds you that, oh yeah, well, they have this new snack, Cheetos popcorn. And yeah, I'll take some of that, especially if it gets me out of things that I don't want to do. Hadn't considered using Cheetos in that capacity before, I got to say, but there you go. Another one that I really liked, I really thought that Rocket Mortgage, Jason Momoa, was pretty good. The Rocket Mortgage, it was really freaky, the special effects they did. They basically had Jason Momoa, who's this really built, big dude. And throughout the ad, the star of Aquaman was seen really kind of getting comfortable at home. He's walking around a house. He's peeling off his muscles as if they're fake. And then he removed a wig to review a bald head, And it's pretty funny, because, obviously those visuals are getting your attention. And then he hits the message, which says, "What does home mean to me? It's my sanctuary. It's where I can let my guard down. It's where I can kick back and be totally comfortable in my own skin." So Rocket was able to really kind of talk about home in an interesting way, get attention in a very interesting way. And that was pretty awesome. So I think, and I don't think you can ever unsee it. It became a whole series of memes of things, like one of the funniest ones was they showed Jason Momoa, taking off his muscles and various things, and then they compared it to the quarters of the game. So they said San Francisco 49ers defense, the first quarter, second quarter, third, and by the last quarter, it's the bald guy with skinny arms and that kind of thing. So I thought that was hysterical, by the way, and I think that Rocket Mortgage did a good job with that ad, and strong on messaging too. Hyundai, with its Smart Pack ad, did a really good job with the really talking about the Boston accents. So they used Boston natives Chris Evans, Captain America, Rachel Drash from Saturday Night Live, and John Krasinski from The Office, and they kind of had fun with the Boston accent in this commercial. What's interesting about it is a feature you haven't seen Hyundai be able to do before. So there's something kind of new and cool that you haven't seen, and then they were able to play on the idea of the Smart Park feature is in Boston. It's called Smart Pack, and it got people saying that, and I even heard some of the late night hosts saying Smart Pack after that. So it really kind of gets in and infects you a little bit, and I think that they kind of deserve the kudos for that. So another one that I liked, I thought it was really good, was WeatherTech talking about their lucky dog, and really anytime you're bringing in pets into something that's going to get attention. And they talked about an ad where they're funding cancer treatment for animals. It starred Scout, a 7-year-old golden retriever who beat cancer despite having a 1% chance of survival. And that hits you, right? And I think the ad is really powerful. It's very well done. There was kind of a thought that I had. I was like, I'm not completely sure what the hell WeatherTech is, or why, or what that has to do with a dog and cancer, and that kind of thing. So there was a little bit of a disconnect in that. Even though the ad was very strong, it was kind of like you came away with a little bit more understanding of the cancer treatment for animals than you did of why the hell WeatherTech was doing that. And at $5 million per pop, per 30 seconds, that's a lot, and so that's what you got to think about when you're when you're putting any kind of content together on the marketing side of things. This is some of the best stuff that our industry has to offer, and sometimes they miss the mark because they make it too emotional. They try to get too clever. They try to get things, and they miss the point of where they miss the point of why is this here? What is the relevancy does this have in my life? That kind of thing. And that's really important in marketing. You got to be clear first and clever second. Anyway, that's what's going on right now with the Super Bowl ads. I'm going to talk about some of the failed ones in segment 3, but come on back for who's winning and losing in the world at large. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your Super Bowl host, and we're talking about Super Bowl ads this whole show today. Paul, did you see this? Did you see the Smack Pack? What'd you like?
I saw the Groundhog Day commercial.
What'd you think of that one?
That was really good. That's really,
well done, right?
Yeah.
Jeep, yeah. I mean, it's a great concept. It was so well executed. Bill Murray did such a great job with it. It was really funny. It was, I mean, almost the unanimous winner in almost all the stories you're going to see about who won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Bill Murray. You gotta really try.
He's awesome. Gotta love that ad. And then but here's the question: does it make you want to buy a Jeep? Would that sway you in any way?
It makes me want to buy a groundhog.
It makes you want to buy a groundhog
and take him on adventures.
I wonder. I know, right? You always kind of wonder. You're like, would that, if you were in the market for a car, would that sway you to take a Jeep test drive, or have you already made up your mind of what kind of car you're going to get? Are you going to, are you already getting the Smart Pack and that kind of thing? I mean, that's interesting. But I wonder, it does make it look like it'd be a lot of fun to have a groundhog with you.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going. I'm following you.
Exactly. I'm bringing the groundhog with me. Well, let's dig into who's winning and losing in the big old monster world out there. Let's stay on the Super Bowl for a second. So, Twitter announced who won Twitter in terms of social media. A big deal also in the game, not just who's loving the ads, but who's tweeting about them and that sort of thing. So, the MVP, according to Twitter, was Pepsi. They say that's the brand that drove the largest overall tweet conversation among the Super Bowl advertisers. The quarterback was the brand with the most retweets for a single tweet in the brand's handle during the event, and that was Doritos. Doritos had a great ad as well that featured Lil Nas, in Old Town Road, and also featured Sam Elliott. And it was just funny to watch them dance and stuff. I thought that was pretty good one too. The fan favorite, the band that drove the highest overall positivity among brands partaking in the Super Bowl conversation on Twitter, was that Google Assistant Loretta ad that we talked about. And then the brand that drove the largest overall conversation without a national TV spot, interesting, was Tums Official. Not sure what they did, but sounds like they did something, which is kind of interesting. And Pepsi was, of course, talking heavily about its halftime show featuring the half to almost completely naked J-Lo and Shakira, which just for a second while we're on the subject of the halftime show. The halftime show to me was a little odd message wise, because you're talking about female empowerment, and I said this on Facebook. You're talking about female empowerment, right? And you're bringing out kids and having them sing and little girls and everything else. And then, your stars of the show are really scantily clad, and sliding down a pole. Not to put too much of a spin on it, but so it's like, are you empowered? Are you powerful? Or are you sliding down a pole and everybody's getting out their dollar bills for you? I don't know if you can have both of those message wise. And actually, I don't think that you can. I think that you're either one of the other. You're either going to be this spectacle and you're going to be this object and play into the objectification of the whole thing, or you're going to be empowered and talk about, I believe the children are our future. But it was odd to me to have kind of both of those things mixing together. And I was kind of like, generally, it worked for me, but the message was muddled and goofy. And then when they tried to say that it was about immigration and stuff like that, I was like, it's about a woman sliding down a pole. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it. It's about a half naked woman in a body stock and sliding down a pole, like a stripper would in your various strip clubs of America. So I don't know what the pole was supposed to represent in the immigration conversation, but that was odd reading some of that stuff the next day. I was like, okay. And not every, they feel like the Super Bowl halftime show sometimes, has to be like this big message driven thing and has to deliver all this messaging. It doesn't. Prince just went out there and killed it. There was no message. The message was, I'm Prince. Yeah, I'm that good. Believe it. There was no, just the idea that it has to stand for some kind of larger thing. Just play your songs and shut the hell up is kind of where I'm at. And I think where a lot of America is at as well the messaging side of it was odd to me. It was odd. And if I'm sitting in the room and they say, well, Scott, from this perspective, what do you think? We're trying to do a messaging kind of thing about female empowerment in that thing. And I would say, well, then everybody on stage should be fully clothed. Everybody should be fully clothed. I'm sorry. You can't do both of those. You can't. So, and I'd be the guy saying, oh, Scott, we can do that. It means they're powerful. Bullshit. It does not. That's not what it means in our society. Just because you're J-Lo and somebody else do that, that's not what it means. What you had was kind of a muddled, crazy message from a bunch of people that, probably don't understand messaging very well. But they could. They could. Just takes a little bit of thinking. All right. Off the soapbox for the Super Bowl. Let's move over to Macy's for a second and talk about that. Macy's is losing this week. They're going to close 125 stores. They're going to cut 2,000 corporate jobs, and their messaging around that is in the hunt for growth. They're stuck in a sales slump, so they're going to try to kind of shrink to grow, which is an odd thing, but that's what they said. So they're going to exit weaker shopping malls and shift focus towards opening smaller format stores in strip centers. They've already shuttered more than 100 stores since 2015. This is tough, right? Retail is a bear, and retail is tough because rents are expensive. Large format department stores are sort of out. We shop a lot online. It is hard to get a competitive advantage against somebody like Amazon, who doesn't have any of those expenses, who has supply chain side of things just dialed in so sharply. It's hard to compete with Amazon. It's hard to compete with Amazon. It's hard to compete with online shopping if you're, I'm not necessarily saying I have the answers, but they're definitely losing. And I think that this message about in the hunt for growth, I don't know about that message. I don't know about that. It's just maybe shrinking to survive is a better message, but I don't know about growth. I'm not sure about that. All right, let's move on. Google's killing it. Absolutely killing it. YouTube ad revenue was disclosed by Google for the first time. It topped $15 billion in 2019. $15 billion in ad revenue. Okay, so, Google, which operates under the parent company Alphabet, they own YouTube. Their revenue was $46 billion in the fourth quarter, up from $39 billion during the same period. And then they released this YouTube ad revenue. Man, that is a lot of ad revenue, right? They pay out. They say this is the revenue that came in, but they pay out a lot of revenue to the creators on Google. They split the ad revenue with publishers and independent video makers. Google keeps 45% of revenue from ads shown in the videos, and there are 20 million subscribers on YouTube's premium services and 2 million subscribers on YouTube TV. And so that's where their kind of revenue's coming from. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, it's one thing you got to know is that, man, 15 billion on YouTube, that's a big number. Gets a lot of attention. So they're winning. They're all kinds of winning. I guess that when you make $1 billion, in ad revenue, you can afford to pay out $5 billion for privacy violations and whatever they're going to have to settle with the state of California with for privacy violations and all these kind of things. And maybe they'll just say we won't change our business at all and we'll just pay them. We'll just keep paying them. They certainly have the money. But I'd call that losing. I called it revenue winning, but I called paying out the privacy fines losing. Did you know that there are more than 117 new emojis for your emojiing pleasure that were released for 2020 in the official land of emojis? Some of the additions include bubble tea, a smiling face with a tear, bottle feeding parents, and some sort of a transgender flag. If you want to read all about that, by the way, there is a site called emojipedia.org where you can find that. It also got picked up by a few news outlets too. You can probably find it. But I find emojis fascinating, don't you? That the fact that, we've kind of come full circle from words, from cave painting pictures to words, to pictures to videos, this kind of things. And now we're sort of back to drawing crap on the side of a cave. You can draw whatever conclusion you need to from that. But another new one is ninja. There's a ninja one. The ninja one could be fun. You could use that. There is a person with a veil. Let's see. There is a black cat. There is a beaver, a dodo. I'm just flipping through the list to see if there's anything else that I may have missed that was awesome for you. There's a boomerang now. There's a boomerang emoji. You might need that. You don't know. You never know. There's an elevator. There is a toothbrush. You ever have people in your communications world that will just text you a string of emojis and assume you know what it means? One of the big reasons we moved on from words from crap painted on a cave painting is shared, knowledge of what different series of pictures mean, right? The way that we can be sure what they mean is that we talk about them in words. But when you certainly look at pictures, you don't always come back with the exact same, understanding of what you're doing. Anyway, I thought that was kind of fascinating. You can read all about that at emojipedia.org. Yay for that. BlackBerry, good old BlackBerry. They're still out there making the little phones with the keyboards from the 90s, the iconic full keyboard smartphones. But those may be disappearing once again. TCL Communications, the company that's been making the smartphones, said that their partnership's ending. They're going to stop selling the BlackBerry branded mobile devices. They no longer have the rights to design, manufacture, or sell any new devices. So it looks like the BlackBerry in that format is going to finally die. So losing, or there you go. But BlackBerry does own, here in Orange County, they own a big cybersecurity firm, like an AI, an AI cybersecurity firm that sort of morphs its antivirus stuff to match all the different changes in viruses. It gets smarter and it learns how to beat viruses. Yeah, that's as creepy as it sounds right there. That statement right there, that's a statement where, you could easily drop the word Skynet after that, or Legion from the new Terminator Dark Fate movie. Yeah, that's as scary as it is. But BlackBerry owns that now. It's BlackBerry Cylance or what have you here in Orange County. They probably own other cybersecurity things as well. But the box, the little phone's going away. Just got to tell you people that. There you go. Losing. You know who's winning is there's a musician in the UK that got my attention this week. He has invented a trombone that shoots fire out of the bell. It is worth your while to go and check out the video. There's a site called cmuse.org that has the story. It's in a lot of other places as well as the videos on Vimeo and I believe also on YouTube. He plays a what they call fantastic polka on what he calls the pyro trombone. So Valentin Guérin, 25, is a French aspiring professional trombonist It's an awesome career choice, by the way. Just throw that out there. Who came out with a crazy new invention called the pyro trombone. He invented it, and he owns the patent. The idea of the pyro trombone comes from a simple observation. The public dislikes trombone concerts. Well, see, he's got his eyes wide open. We must therefore innovate with a show of great musical quality, but something that's mind-blowing. This guy needs to come to Vegas and start playing the pyro trombone and other pyro instruments. Imagine, you're watching a classical concert, right? Imagine how much better that concert becomes when fire shoots out of the bell of all of these instruments. Different colors of fire. There could be, the violinists are going and then something blows up. We are there at in terms of our society, is that we're the kind of society that would, I think we'd really be into, fiery classical music or pyro being added to classical music. I think Valentine's really onto something here. I definitely encourage you guys to go check out the pyro trombone and see how safe it is and see if you can get one in your own home and hopefully not burn down your house. But that's all kinds of winning. That's the kind of thing we like around here. Awesome. And my last story is that I found on foxla.com. Apparently a pressured postal worker in Virginia hid undelivered mail in a storage unit. So he hid nearly 5,000 pieces of mail inside a storage unit that he rented because he felt too overwhelmed to deliver it on time. Interesting. That's an interesting way to, get out of delivering something on time is to hide it. He pleaded guilty to one felony count of theft or delay of mail matter by an officer employee. So he was connected after a witness took a photo of the carrier's license plate and alerted officials, but he felt like he couldn't make the time to deliver all the mail, and he felt pressured to finish his route. So he at first intended to deliver the mail when he found time, but fell behind, and he was never able to. And that's the society that you're living in, folks. That's what happens right there. And that is who's winning and losing this week. Come on back, and in segment 3, we're going to talk about some of the ads that we're losing, and then I'm going to end up by giving you some tips on how to create the best content for your own Super Bowl advertising on May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Talk to you in a few.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am still Scott, still your host, hanging out with Paul. Paul, what did you take away from the winners and losers this week in the world of marketing?
Well, I read the YouTube ad revenue story this morning too. That's pretty nuts.
15 billion.
15 billion.
15 billion with the B. That's a lot of money, people.
Now, why is this the first time that they have reported their earnings?
I think it's the first time they've Alphabet is public, so I think that they had to report their earnings, for that. But I don't think they've ever split out and ever told anybody how much money they make off of YouTube ads.
Right.
Yeah, I can't answer that as to why they haven't done it before. It certainly made news because it was the first time they did it, and because the number was so high.
I read a comment on Reddit that someone said that it's just toddlers hitting ad buttons over and over.
Toddlers going do 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 do.
They'll poke at anything.
So true. Oh man, we got to get us a flaming trombone. You guys got to get a pyro trombone down at Intertalk Studios.
I'm in a band with a full horn section. If we could get everyone spitting fire out of those bells, that's going to be epic.
It'd be awesome, wouldn't it? I mean, I started my first instrument in high school jazz band was playing the trombone, and I could certainly see the need for adding a little bit more to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're already playing a trombone. Like, you're not going to get a lot of girls unless you, step up your showmanship.
I know, man. It's but fire coming out of the bell of the trombone, now you're talking. Yeah. Now you're talking. Yeah. That thing is dangerous with the slide. You can pop people in the head with the slide, or you can burn them up with the flame that's coming out of the
God,
bell.
Look at Scott with a fire trombone. He's such a bad boy.
Look at that guy.
Is he singing? Is he seeing anyone?
Is he seeing anyone? He was awesome. Yeah, good old Valentin Guérin from France, realizing that people don't like trombone, but he wants to play trombone. So, and I mean, you should see the fire stream that comes. Have you seen the fantastic polka on the pyro trombone yet? The video?
No.
You need to see it because I'm not doing it justice. It's a damn flamethrower. It throws fire a long way.
I'll check it out right now.
It's not like you would be standing. It's not like they would be anybody would be standing in front of them, because if they did, they'd be pretty dead. All right, then. Let's get back to Super Bowl ads, which we've been talking about all day long. We've been talking about Super Bowl ad stories. The first segment, I talked about a lot of things that I thought were winning. Let's talk about some that didn't do so well and didn't do so well kind of with me and with other people who I respect. So one of the first ones I want to mention is Genesis USA. They had Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, and they tried to talk about a different kind of luxury, and it's not old luxury, but it's like cool luxury or whatever. This ad really fell flat for me. I didn't understand what the hell they were trying to say. I think, a golden rule. I'm in the Story Brand. I'm a Story Brand certified guide. And one thing the Story Brand folks talk about a lot is when you're doing a luxury brands and comedy don't mix, because, you end up sort of dumbing down the luxury part of the brand. And that's the piece of the brand that people want to aspire to and be a part of. So when you make the conscious decision, there's only one way to do a luxury brand, and that is to tie it to status and then do a whole bunch of, sort of ego related things and let people just sort of get caught up in their own big ego party. But when you create sort of a quasi comedy thing around luxury, it's always going to fall flat since the beginning of time. Write that tip down. If you represent a luxury brand, don't do comedy. Nobody has ever really been able to do that successfully, just because of the psychology of luxury brands. Another one I thought was really kind of dumb was the Winona in Winona. So basically, it shows Winona Ryder. Yeah, funny. It's kind of fun wordplay or whatever. That she's standing by the "Welcome to Winona" sign, and she's approached by a police officer, and she says she's building a website about Winona, and that kind of thing. And it's like, it would be better to spend your $5 million per 30 seconds talking about Squarespace and the sites that you're going to build. That kind of. They should have run the Oscar the Grouch one again. I mean, I think that was even a superior ad to this one. This ad really didn't explain, I'm building a website and, Winona in Winona and kind of thing, but it was really easily forgettable and just not very, it wasn't funny. It wasn't good. It wasn't good message wise. The Oscar the Grouch one is much better because Oscar the Grouch is awesome. So there you go. I also thought, a company that doesn't fail too often in Super Bowl ads, McDonald's, man, they had an interesting ad, but it really showed up on a lot of the losing lists, and that was what they call famous orders, and they kind of showed the orders of celebrities like what does Kanye West eat at McDonald's, or Kim Kardashian, or Magic Johnson, or Travis Kelce, and they even showed like jokingly what is Dracula really likes ketchup, the Hamburglar, and even Julius Caesar, like that kind of thing. McDonald's can do a lot better, and McDonald's ad campaigns have always been strong at making people feel stuff. And I didn't feel anything on this except for I needed to go use the bathroom or something. I mean, it didn't make me feel anything. Another one that I thought lost pretty big was Hulu. They were trying to stand out. They had Tom Brady in there. They've used a lot of sports stars in there. I thought it was kind of a dumb ad. One of the biggest problems that they had is that their live sports streaming service crashed for a lot of subscribers right before the big game. So they got kind of nailed on social media for for that, and that's about $5 million that you just kind of threw away and you're never going to see again. I also thought that Procter & Gamble was kind of a loser. They brought together a mashup of all of its brand mascots, for all of their stuff. They brought them together, but it was, this is a great example. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? And you're Procter & Gamble, and you have all these various ads, and what is the message? We have all these brand mascots that you know and trust, and they're all hanging out together, and isn't it fun or whatever? But I'm like, right. So what am I supposed to do here? The message was really unclear. The ad was really confusing. And I noticed that. I noticed a lot of people on social media noticed that, and a lot of sort of marketing gurus put that one on a losing list as well. And the last one I wanted to mention was Quibi. Basically, Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman had this mobile streaming platform, and they tried this ad about a bank heist gone awry. And they were trying to kind of let people know that they can watch episodes on the platform in like 10 minutes or less. But nobody understood, because we don't know what it is. Great example of marketing clarity. Because you haven't introduced us to what it is, we don't understand what it is. So we don't get the joke that they're standing there waiting for a bank heist and their getaway driver can watch an episode in 10 minutes or less. And, of course, that kind of thing. It was very confusing. It came off as like everybody just sort of looks at each other and goes, "I'm sorry, but what the hell was that?" Kind of thing. And you don't want that to be your message. So those are some of the losers that I found. I wanted to end today's show with just giving you a few tips on how to create the best content or advertising, things that you can use. I want to arm you guys with stuff that you can use. So my first one is the best ads, they tell a story, right? They have a message. It's not sometimes, clear always beats clever. So be clear first. Always be clear. We just talked about people spending $5 million for, per 30 seconds and not having a clear idea of what they want the audience to come away with. What is the point of what you're doing, And that comes from not having a message. Procter & Gamble basically invented branding. And if of all people, they should know that you need to have a clear message. In a distracting environment such as the Super Bowl or whatever, you need to be clear about what you're saying, clear about what you're selling, clear about what you're saying, clear about what you're trying to get us to do or feel or whatever. But, we see disconnects from that, right? We see disconnects all over the place that there's no, good message. That message has got to be great. That's the first thing that you think of. All the winners that we talked about, the Bill Murray Groundhog Day ad, they had a message, right? They had a message. They basically said, look, we're going to parody this movie, but we're going to do so in a way that we insert our product as the hero that makes this terrible experience for Bill Murray's character so much better. And he kind of leans in and starts to really love the fact that he's reliving the same day over and over again because our product became him and was the hero for that, right? Really important to have that construct there. And I think that, sometimes people just, they hire celebrities and they put together big ad concepts and stuff, and they don't know what the hell it is they're saying. And that sounds insane, and I get that. But in my business all the time, I run into people who don't know what the hell they're trying to say, and I fix that. I fix that. I go, let's make sure we know what we're trying to say. Let's be really, really clear about what we're trying to say. And then let's see what we can't do to be clever or funny or, all those kind of things. That's my first tip. Message first. Always, 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 write it down in words, refine it, make sure it's solid, make sure it's good, make sure at the end of the day that when you review your final product, it's going to still deliver a message that is, deserving and worthy to be delivered. Tip number 2, look for ways to cut through the clutter. Some of the best ads that we saw, what did they do? They had compelling visuals. They did things, they did, cool things. The Bill Murray, the Jeep was orange. The fact that the Baby Nut commercial, they had something cute that got people's attention at the Super Bowl party. Even the Mountain Dew Zero Sugar thing. That's huge points for cutting through clutter, right? Because they said, let's take this very famous scene from The Shining that's been parodied a bunch of times, and then let's use it. A little bit of a message disconnect, as we talked about, but there was that. The Loretta thing is a story that builds, and it does cut through the clutter because it's kind of quiet. It's kind of quiet, and it's got some very soft piano music, and they kind of set the right tone. And in a world where where some people are trying to kind of be as loud as possible and blow through things, they're quiet, and so they can cut through the clutter with that. The Jason Momoa thing had surprising visuals, and that cuts through the clutter. The Hyundai Smart Pack, ad has has that funny accent and has some very well known people that are beloved by millions of fans, and for that. So anyway, cutting through the clutter, that's a big deal. We want to make sure that we're always thinking about that. Number 3, make sure you're reinforcing the brand with what you're doing. Make sure that at the end of the day, this thing speaks in the voice that your brand speaks in. Really important to know that. Are we do we have like a patriotic voice? Do we have a voice that is kind of snarky? Do we kind of have those things? Does this piece of content we're creating, does it reinforce the brand? I use a tool called the Message Map, which lists the personality traits of the brand. It lists a lot of things like that. And I make sure that in every piece of content that I'm creating for a client, we are consistently reviewing the message map. We're consistently reviewing what's going on with the message map and saying, okay, do we have this message to where it's solid? Is it strong? Is it great? that kind of thing. And does this piece of content we've created, is it, a reinforcing element to that? My fourth tip is, I love the creativity. The ads that we're talking about that won the day were very, very creative. Not just creative, right? Creative sort of with a purpose. When you think about the Groundhog Day, and I encourage you to read the story about how the ad kind of came together, because it is kind of fascinating how they were able to get, Bill Murray and how they came up with the idea. But basically, it kind of starts like this. They say, look, the Super Bowl is happening, on Groundhog Day. So, it's not too far of a jump to say, well, can we play on Groundhog Day? Can we? And then the most, famous treatment of Groundhog Day recently was the movie, and then, getting Bill, to be able to kind of, come on and then what can they do to sort of creatively extend what Bill's character was doing in the movie, but do so in a way that, again, that we talked about, that has kind of a strong connection to the message. Creative is good. Creative is good. Be clear first. Clarity first. Clarity is very important, and make sure that you're doing that, and then be then creative. And then last tip that I have is, the best pieces of content that I read out there are fun. They're fun for me. I get value out of them. They make me laugh. They're interesting. It is absolutely okay, and I give you permission in your marketing to have fun, especially if your brand, is tied to fun in some kind of cool way. It absolutely helps kind of disarm the audience, and do things to where they're going to be more receptive to, what you're going to say next, and what you're going to be able to do. So, what have we learned, folks, on this big show today? We know that the big game had some really big ads and a lot of big money being spent, but you don't need to advertise during the Super Bowl to get big attention. You just have to be great for your audience. Be great for them. That is going to be the beginning of truly great marketing that we're all going to strive to do. So keep that in mind. That's going to be it for me, folks. It was fun talking about the Super Bowl. I'm going to come back and next week, and we're going to talk about some more stuff PR related. But for now, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?